Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
Now, I know you did a video on it, but I haven't watched it because I hadn't seen it yet. So I've now seen it. So anything, all your opinions will be kind of fresh. So talk about your opinion, and then we can take it in turns of
Yeah.
like,
Well, I saw a couple of people talk about it, or like the first headlines on social media on the cesspool of Twitter or X or whatever it is,
yeah.
and I thought I'm not going to watch them because I want to make up my own mind,
Hmm.
you know, and so and genuinely first reaction when I came out of the cinema was like that was one of the worst films I've ever seen. I would have stopped watching it if I hadn't have had to uh, just keep watching it for like to do a review on it.
Right,
You
right.
know, so long. But on reflection, perhaps that was a bit. Well, that was my what I felt. That's
Yeah.
obviously. But on reflection, I do feel there are some core messages in it that come through. I just think that wasn't a very good film.
Hmm.
Um, I'll go into those core messages in a bit. What's your overline thought of it?
Well, it felt thin and laborious. Like we're kind of, well, come on, we'll get to the point. But
Mm.
so in terms of a film, because I was curious to watch it from a particular perspective. I was like, come on, get on with it. Like the adventure stuff, I was like, okay, I'm not really interested. But it felt like, um, to me, it felt like an ode to Dolores Cannon.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What for like people that don't know Dolores Cannon, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so basically Dolores Cannon was someone who's famous for hypnosis and past life regression or regression, particularly with experiences. And having trained in her modality, you know that anyone who's done it knows that the opening line is, if I were to say to you, see a red bird, can you see a red bird? And there was a bit of controversy when we were training because, of course, in England we don't have red birds, but the red birds in America are cardinals. So it was interesting that they used the cardinal. It was kind of like they stopped short of using the owl, which she refers to as the animal of choice that our intergalactic brothers
Why
and sisters.
did you do that? Why didn't you just do it now?
I don't know, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Um, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It would have maybe it was too obvious. It would have made more sense. Everyone knows that the owl is a thing. So,
Yeah.
but by using the red cardinal, it still felt like it was a nod to Dolores and her
Yeah.
exploration in all of that, which I thought was quite interesting. And I like the fact that it was from the perspective of someone on the inside who's working within the industrial military complex, who's tired of it and wants to come out. I thought that was a nice perspective.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That you could feel a bit of uh you can relate to that given what's going on at the moment and how much Greer talks about this and has been talking about it, especially in the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Then, yeah, that was a little bit relatable. Um, but I just thought that the core messages in it were there that we have these innate gifts and capabilities, that are coming on board with so many people at the moment, like telepathy and psychic gifts and heightened intuition. Obviously, people are questioning the element of faith and faith in the divine and the more fundamental religious schools or belief is this clashes, doesn't it, with that, I guess, and so people are a bit concerned and a bit worried, but so it's the message that you still have your faith in the divine and the creator, even though there are other beings in other worlds, um, but I think it just got too Marvel comic-y at like points, and I think actually distorted the message of our capabilities. It made it just seem, holding this thing like this rock, and he reminded me of the that guy from X-Men who, I'm sure that like we have that, but it just made it a little bit. I don't know where he was going with that, and it's just so long.
Yeah, it was long. And it made that having that kind of tool kind of made it added another dimension rather than just being something within us. But I liked there was kind of layers to it, like the St. Clare's, the nuns with St. Clare's, which is a nod to the mystery school.
Yeah, I didn't message you because you said I haven't
Yeah,
watched it
yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
that was interesting.
yeah, yeah, our exploration up into Rosalind St. Clare,
Yeah.
what was it? The Clare family.
The Sinclair family, yeah, the Sinclair family, Sinclair. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there was nods to that. And then with the animals coming in and the human side of it and showing what is done in our name to our intergalactic brothers and sisters through the horrors that they endure at the hands of certain factions, I think was interesting. And I think although the end bit was this is a bit where you're meant to cry, right? This is the now we're getting into the emotional part of the film, which is supposed to make you cry. But I felt like I think the reason it touched people is because even though it was Hollywood, it's based on truth. Like we know through like research and knowing through Dr. Greer, like a lot of the things that are being represented are things that quite likely have happened, like the crash retrieval sites, the intergalactic brothers and sisters being rescued, like the body parts, all of that. So although it's fiction, on a collective level, we know there's truth in it, so it resonates. So it seems to be working on what we understand consciously, entertainment, and also on a collective unconscious what we know to be true. I thought that was interesting.
yeah. And I've got mates that saw it that's really liked it, and not as like deep down this uh, rabbit hole or whatever as I am or we are or I've been, and they really liked it. So it must have resonated, yeah, at some level. And maybe it's because that you know I've watched every documentary and listened to Greer so much, and those heinous crimes hit so raw and hard when you hear it many times. Doesn't Maybe it's like a bit desensitized, like when you see it in a Hollywood drama. But to people that had never seen it, it probably was quite raw because, yeah, like you said, that stuff has been going on for decades. And that was one of the things I did think that, um, yeah, like portraying the military industrial complex as for these nefarious crimes and that they've been committing over decades. Um, but I wasn't sure even that. Why did they make it like it was almost a little bit spoofy, like how why didn't they just make it real, like Homeland or so it can be done like that. Well, why do you think why do you think they put this little spin on it? Like,
Well, it makes it more palatable to a wider audience. I also think it's interesting. Yeah, it could be gritty. It could be really gritty because it is gritty. But he's taken something, maybe it was easier to get people on board, spinning it in a slightly softer Hollywood-esque way to mask the truth. If it's too gritty and too realistic, then you might as well be watching a documentary. I mean, it was bordering, it's kind of it was a documentary that was kind of softened, which makes it a bit more palatable and a bit more universal reach for a Hollywood film, maybe.
yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah. What other thoughts have you had?
Yeah, well, it was funny because with the animals, like the fox and the deer, and then we got into the car park, and there was a what's it called, peacock, just wandering through the car park. I was like, turned to Brenda, my friend, I was like, "Is this what's happening? Like, this peacock shouldn't be here."
Yeah,
So it was quite funny. It was just a peacock, I think, sadly. But yeah, so it was interesting the different concepts, the nods to Dolores and the whole abduction piece. So they made that they could have so easily at so many opportunities really hammered the fear narrative and they didn't. I think that
Mm.
was to the credit of the film, if we want to talk about it like that. Although equally, there were certain pieces in there, and you're wondering,
What explain the fear narrative?
oh, the fear narrative that our intergalactic brothers and sisters are here to harm us, and people have been abducted and they've been harmed, and they're terrifying, and they could have gone with that story because it's one of the many different narratives out there. But it showed an element of that with the children, but
Mm.
equally it it didn't spin it into a terrifying experience,
Mm.
which it so easily could have demonized our intergalactic brothers and sisters, which was the kind of we didn't I mean going into the film, we just didn't know which way it was going to go. Whether it was going to be something that is encouraging people to be open-hearted, which watching everyone's reactions to actually what we've done to them rather than what they do to us showed
Mm.
that humanity, it would be horrified if they knew what was really happening, not
Mm.
terrified of finding out that they're real.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Uh, yeah, I get that. What about the message of faith?
Well, that was interesting with the friendly nun, with
Yeah,
the broad-minded nun. I thought that was done. I don't know whether she really needed to be crushing the crucifix into who knows, but it was interesting to see the core of that being that God makes everything like just
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
that was leveling and a fair point. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I thought that was a good message because people seem to be a bit anxious about that. Some people seem to be a bit anxious about that at the moment.
Yes, especially with all the talk of like, are they angels or demons? They could have very
Yeah,
easily cast the intergalactic brothers and sisters as the demons, but they didn't. They cast, and not everyone, which is what I like, not everyone in the industrial military complex is of malintent. There are people who are working there who've like ended up there thinking, as we know from Greer's work, that they're working for a government contractor and thinking they're working for the country, only to find out that
mm,
they're not, and but they're stuck in there. And they know that these
mm,
things should come out. So I thought that was good. It speaks to all those people who are working in there, who want it to be out there, but who are stuck. And I think that was really good.
yeah. Okay, big question. So, what do you make of it being released the exact month of real disclosure of?
The, the exact month of the World Cup with this concept. There will be a day of disclosure, and there's all these rumors like it's going to happen at the World Cup final because it's happening in America. Like,
Players are going to be inducted. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think it's really, of course, it's all by design. You got to look at the pre-programming or whatever they call it within the narrative. Like this, there will be a day, a disclosure, a day where it's all comes out, and it's of course it's weaving into the unconscious of everyone that it's accepted that it's going to happen. Oh yeah, when it
mm,
happens, it's like, yeah, well, I saw it in the film. It normalizes it. Suddenly, it's not such a big shock, and people kind of take it more in their stride, or perhaps kind of become desensitized and not that bothered by it. It just becomes more of the fabric of entertainment. It's hard to
yeah.
know whether it's going to impact it negatively or positively.
Yeah. So that's what I didn't read and watch people's opinions, the psyop like narrative, because I wanted to watch it for myself. I couldn't see a clear psyop other than that maybe when disclosure does happen, people are just associate it with the boredom of the film and just be like, oh, okay, and just get on with their daily lives.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, I'm joking, but that's uh, interesting though, like how, like you said about programming. So where do you think Spielberg sits on this? Because he's had help in the past from people that have been on these government programs. It's well documented that he had, was
J.
it
Allen
uh,
Hynek.
Hynek, yeah, on Close Encounters
in the film.
back
Yeah.
in was it the 60s, 70s? Um,
Yeah, he was a cameo
uh,
in the film.
yeah, but he was helping him with the film because he
Yeah.
was on Project Blue Book, was it Project Blue
Yeah.
Book? Yeah. So what do you make of that?
Yes, it's hard to know where he personally sits. Is there an agenda he's part of? Is there some passion film for him that he wanted to do because it's a thread from ET, right? It's
Mm.
it's hard to say. It's hard to see all the nuances. What I wasn't sure about, and what I had to kind of close my eyes to, was when they were going into the eyes, when they had them on the in the craft, and they were like going into their eyes, and then they were whatever they were doing inside into the eyeball. I was like, is there something happening here? I don't know. Is there
Mm.
something beyond what the narrative is? Are there things happening in films that are subliminal that we don't know?
Yeah.
It
I,
called that into question.
why were they one the term experiences? I don't think I can get on board with that. Where does that come from? Two, why I wonder why they were children when they were experiences. What was what's the relevance of that? Or is there any relevance or
I don't know. I just think it was easier to portray children because there's an innocence and they're not going to be like an adult would be relatable. Like if oh my goodness, if that was me in that position. But when it's children and there's a naivety and there's the animals who called them in, there's more scope for it being an innocent experience.
mm,
Like, of course, children are going to be scared, but also by holding each other's hand, they felt that support. It was probably easier to portray that because if you imagine two adults going in there, like with adult, they'd be like, "What the hell's going on?" Fighting back. But there's a
mm,
passivity with children and a trust, so it might have been
mm.
easier to portray it in that way for the audience.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, that makes sense. And the ET at the end,
I
what do
thought
you
that
think
was a
of?
little bit clunky, like wheeling out
Yeah,
in a wheelchair. It was like they could have made it a little bit more polished.
it's like they run out of budget and had to nip
Yeah,
down to for a fancy dress. Got a fancy dress suit. What
yeah.
was all that about?
It was like ET, and like we've moved on since the 80s. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So like, so where did you sit then, Ronnie? Like, what's your overall? Like,
I mean, I'm glad that it's not the fear narrative. I'm glad that it opens people's eyes to what's really been going on, whether they consciously realize it or not. I think that was healthy for the disclosure as a whole. Um, there was a lot of what was interesting to me was yeah, it's a film. They've got the are they going to make it onto the train or not? Like kind of like the thrill, the kind of like adrenaline of that, and then the messaging around flipping between the adrenaline and the activating the fear and saying, "Oh no, but we can't release it. Everyone's going to go crazy." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting because yes, at the end they entered the narrative differently, but in activating the adrenals by watching those moments and then having the words come in like, oh yeah, people aren't going to be able to handle it." Is that part of the programming? Even though
mm,
because of the heightened adrenals at that moment because you're in the film space. So are they actually playing with multiple narratives, even though the ending was one way, but they've also by that point it's done, the work is done because the fear
yeah,
is
yeah,
right, the adrenaline's up and the message has come in. So I just yeah, I don't know the psychology of how it all works.
yeah, yeah. And your so what your gut feeling or your you were you impressed overall
I
or
was
not?
I was pleased that it was presented in that way, I think.
Yeah.
And I think there's an to open people up to the humanity of our intergalactic brothers and sisters was
Mm,
a very positive step in the right direction.
yeah, yeah.
What about you?
Like I said, there was some good core messages in there. The To reiterate the message of faith, our innate capabilities of extrasensory perception, that anyone can tap into, or certainly, and from my experience, trying, and then portraying the military industrial complex as some rogue operations and what we've been doing to them, rather than for the fear of us being abducted.
What we've been doing to our intergalactic brothers and sisters. Yeah.
But doesn't take away from the length of the film and some other mixed messages in there. I just couldn't really wrap my head around. So like I said, when it first came out, I was like, oh god. But on reflection, and having spoken to people that perhaps not as spent as much time delving into these topics, and I think it's opened up people a bit, which seems to have for the people I've spoken to.
So the $1,000,000 question: would you recommend people who know nothing about this subject to watch it?
No. No. Go watch Stephen Greer's documentaries. The best films. 10 times better. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for people who don't know and they want to watch a film, any old film, then I think it's an introduction. It's an introduction to concepts and ideas that they may otherwise not have come into contact with if they're not watching the alternative news and like everybody if they're watching mainstream news and they haven't really got a concept for what's about to happen, then I don't think I think it's a good way to demystify undo some of the negative programming of the fear narrative by helping them to realize that actually maybe we're the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Cool.
So perhaps one for the next episode.
Yeah.
What do you think is about to happen?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll explore that next time.
Yeah.